When I hear the word crafting, I think of my aunts. For years, numerous family vacations consisted of visiting our up north cabin, where we would arrive upon bins of crafting materials. For a week in hot and humid July, my aunts would gather around cardboard tables, stitching, painting, and hot glue gunning various Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas decor. My cousins and I would play in the background as we listened to their stories about how they learned to make a new wreath or tease each other about the need to be precise so as not to make dolls with lazy eyes. My mom, however, never participated in these crafting spaces. Instead, she would read and go in and out of the conversations. I mimicked her habits and never fully entered my aunt's craft scene. Years later, however, I began to realize the centrality of crafting in my family's life. 7 years ago, my Aunt Joanne died of breast cancer. She was only 50 years old, and the first of all the aunts to pass away. Her death was hard to swallow for everyone, but particularly so for my grandparents. My Aunt Joanne never married, never had a partner, and so when she passed away, there was an eerie finality to her death. Her house was sold, her furniture redistributed amongst friends and families, and the boxes of letters and cards she kept from close friends and family were all returned to their original senders. This year, at my grandparents' 60th wedding anniversary, my great-aunt Barbara repurposed all those letters and cards she once gave my Aunt Joanne. Creating a colorful collage, she presented to my grandmother a serving tray decoupaged with all the cards she once sent to my aunt. While my Aunt Joanne may no longer physically be with my family, she continues to always be present and talked about at family events. The crafting of the serving tray serves as an example of how craft functions as a memorializing rhetoric. It often takes old, memory-filled materials and transforms them into new, memorializing objects. Understanding craft as a memorializing rhetoric came to me during a more recent family death. This November, my Uncle Paul passed away of a heart attack. Unprepared for his sudden death, my sisters and I gathered around to support my grandparents, who had now lost 2 out of their 3 children. The week before Thanksgiving, then, consisted of assisting in numerous funeral arrangements. 2 particular tasks involved very much the rhetoric of crafting. Picture boards and slideshows of my uncle with his family were requested by the funeral director. For 2 days, my sisters and I shuffled through old photographs, albums, and boxes to craft memories of my uncle for friends and family to remember him by. As I returned home from my week-long stay, I recounted the events of my uncle's passing and was struck at how threads of crafting weaved themselves throughout my experience. I recalled how I first learned of the news that my uncle had passed away. As I sat in my living room watching a crafting show on a Saturday morning, I saw in the top left corner of my television screen an incoming call from my father. This is how I learned of my uncle's death, upon watching an episode of PBS's This Old House. During my stay, I was continually reminded of how my uncle would craft music as a composer and craft spectacular triple olive gin martinis. While we hustled about making arrangements, friends and family crafted delicious pies, breads, and traditional Czech kolaches to nurture our grief and pain. We were always either talking of crafting, recipients of crafting, or crafting our goodbyes to my uncle that week. While DIY and craft rhetorics are often discussed within discourses of the home or food, it appeared to me that craft is also very much a part of memorializing those who have passed before us. Craft provides a materiality to the physical body that is no longer with us. Instead, through the crafting of serving trays, or even the crafting of picture boards and slideshows, craft culture remembers and embodies those who have passed away. Craft culture can also embody that which has never yet been. After years of resisting crafting, I slowly became attracted to its function after receiving my infertility diagnosis. Bombarded by the DIY of new moms and pregnancy bloggers, I longed to resist and challenge how I may never create a DIY project involving making my baby's booties or even a DIY pregnancy announcement. Instead, I attempted to create a craft counterculture, making mock baby announcements that I eagerly shared with my fellow infertility friends. Craft, while memorializing those who have passed, also memorializes the effective pain and sorrow of what may never be. Infertility is an odd and strange phenomenon. It is often invisible and often undetected by friends, family, and neighbors around us. Crafting, however, the emotional pain of infertility and the physical pain of fertility treatments begins to make visible the memories of loss we carry on and within our bodies. To see craft as a rhetorical act, I draw upon Dickinson, Blair, and Ott, who write, "We do not see rhetoric as a genre of discourse, or even as necessarily discursive at all. Rather, we take rhetoric to be a set of theoretical stances and critical tactics that offer ways of understanding, evaluating, and intervening in a broad range of human activities." Crafting as a form of memorializing allows for new understanding and interventions to occur. We may repurpose old cards and letters for a serving tray as a tactic that allows us to remember and understand who that person was to us. Or we may craft against dominant norms to mourn and memorialize an invisible pain like infertility. We may also craft our own scholarship. This video essay is one such tactic to begin fusing scholarly binaries of the professional as needing to be separate from the personal. Refusing to subdue or quiet my own embodied reactions to my scholarship, I craft this essay so as to reflect upon the ways in which my personal experiences are always already infusing my professional identity. What I have learned in doing so is that, while some crafts may be taught, some crafts are embedded in the body, and often memorialized in the practices of saying goodbye.